Hello everyone, today I am going to show you how to build this redstone portcullis system. You can see here, press the button, it lifts itself up and out of the way. You can walk your way through here, ignore the piglin farm sound in the background, and we can close it up here, and it all closes up and stops any creepers and other unwanted mobs from getting into your castle, or indeed other players if you are on multiplayer. So we'll head back out so we get away from all the annoying sounds in there. There's a gold farm in there, that's why it's been so loud. This castle, by the way, is designed by Grian, so I'll leave a link to that video in the description as well. But yeah, this portcullis system, it's 5x3 in terms of the size of the gate itself, and I will hop into a creative mode world now to show you how it's done. So here is the build with no other blocks around it, just the ones that you need. So these stone blocks would represent the entrance to your castle, tower, wall, fortress, whatever you want to build this in. And yeah, the redstone is relatively compact around it. You do need quite a lot of space above your gateway for all of these pistons that need to push down. There's not really anything you can do about that. That's just where the pistons need to be, but we've tried to keep the rest of the redstone as close and as packed in as possible. So this will be the front, and this of course will be the back on the inside of your build. And well, yeah, we've put the redstone on the inside because it's a lot easier to hide it all there. So we shall start with placing in where the ground will be around our fortress. So the entire redstone will go 3 blocks under the ground. So we're going to line ourselves up to make it the same as this one. We'll line ourselves up 1, 2, 3, and the ground will be here. So this stone platform will represent our ground level, and we'll knock out the middle 5 blocks because that's where our pistons will need to push through and lift up the gate. So we're going to start here at the bottom of the build with our sticky pistons, and we need 2 rows of these, a double piston extender underneath these 5 central blocks under your gateway. You can use as many as you like. You can make it 7 blocks wide, 4 blocks wide, whatever you want, whatever works with the building that you have. But once you've got your pistons in, you're going to need some concrete powder and some concrete of whatever color you choose, whatever suits the color of your build the best. I'm going to go with grey, or light grey this is, because it seems to match the stone relatively well. You want to place 1 on top of each sticky piston you've got there, and a powder on top of each of those. And the reason you need powder on the top layer is so that when you push these pistons up, when they go back down, the powder will fall, as they don't really have anything to stick to. It's just an unfortunate thing you need to do. And the reason we have those 2 blocks there, and we don't just have the pistons pushing straight up onto the gate, is so that we can hide the redstone further underground. Otherwise it would be quite difficult to cover up this whole mess that we are about to create in here. Speaking of mess, we might as well start building it. So the first step is to place a redstone repeater against each of the bottom pistons there, and a redstone dust behind each of those. Next up, you want to place a solid block against the top row of pistons, and a redstone dust on top of each solid block here. And this redstone dust will power this top row of pistons once they are pushed up. And to power that line of redstone, we will need observer blocks. So we'll place in another line of solid blocks here, and another line of redstone on top of those solid blocks. And we'll place the observer blocks facing from this direction against these redstone lines. This can be very difficult to place in the correct orientation, and it's having some issues even placing the block there this time, but you should just about be able to do it if you get the angle just right.
And a couple more to go, and last one, we can go take a step back, there we go.
All the observer faces should be looking at this redstone, and you can see the redstone, even though it's cut off by this observer block, still connects because observer blocks are actually transparent blocks. So the way this works now, I might as well demonstrate with a button. Run a bit of redstone out and connect this to a button to just test and make sure this works, and make sure we've built this correctly. Press the button and the pistons extend and retract as they should. You'll see the concrete powder blocks do a bit of a jump as they get to the top, but that is all working as intended. The pistons are extending and retracting, nothing is being left behind, and that was an issue with a few designs I tried previous to this one. The pistons had a tendency of not really sticking as they should be, and we'd have some pistons left up here at the top, which we don't want. But yeah, this seems to all be working fine, which means we can move on to building the top half of our gate. So the next logical step is to place in our gate, our portcullis itself. So we're going to build our way up 3 fence posts of your choosing. I'm using nether brick fence, 3 above each of our concrete powders there, and that will form our portcullis, and that will do the opening and closing. I've thrown away my button already. Hang on, let me get that back, and we can give this another test, and this should still work just here, and there we go. So if we just land up here, you can see there's enough room under here to walk underneath, and once we build in the closing mechanism, we'll be able to shut it on the other side. So yeah, that is the opening part of our system complete. So the closing mechanism is a touch more complicated than the opening one, and we're going to start by placing another line of concrete powder on top of each of these blocks here, and that will form the top of our walkway through when the gate is closed, as you can see here. Then we will place in our pistons, and for this one we will use sticky pistons and regular pistons to move these blocks around. So first up, the sticky pistons, you want to count up 1, 2, 3, and you can use any blocks to do that, but I just had sticky pistons in my hand, and we need to place these facing downwards. I can't seem to place it in the right way, just like that. I've broken it. There we go. And we need to place all 5 along in this orientation, facing down on top of our concrete powder, then our regular pistons, and place these facing downwards as well. Next up, we're going to place a line of solid blocks behind our bottom row of pistons there, and a line of redstone repeaters on top of those. We'll then grab our, make sure these are all on 1 tick of delay. We'll then grab our observer blocks, and these can get a little bit tricky to place. That is not an observer, there we go. These can be a little bit tricky to place. These you need to face these first 2 going upwards, but then these ones that will put in this gap here, they need to be facing into this observer here, and for some reason, even looking on this angle, they just don't place in the way you want. So we'll probably have to break these out, and we'll replace these later. It's breaking out concrete powder as well, so yeah, that's a bit of an annoying thing we'll have to do, but yeah, we'll place observer blocks along here. Then once these pistons are pushed down, then these observers will power this next set of pistons. So that is why we need those there, and we will just place our gate back in. And I almost forgot, we need a line of redstone dust on top of the faces of these observer blocks, otherwise they have nothing to look at. And that is our closing mechanism complete. So we'll just give this a quick test. Opening down here, and you can see it's open. If we land down here, we can walk through, do our thing, and for now we'll just place a button here on the side of this observer. I think this will work. Okay, it doesn't. Hang on, we need a solid block for this to work. There we go. We'll place the button there. It all closes up, and we have a closed doorway. Of course, you'll have some walls here on each side, so you won't see any of these gaps that you've got going up here at the moment. So with our opening and closing mechanism complete, you can, if you want to, just leave it as this and then run some redstone lines around to separate buttons and run the system in that way. But I want to go with something a little bit more complicated, which is what I have going on here. We have a button on each side of our portcullis, and they both run into the same redstone line here that powers this T flip-flop. So we can press one button and it doesn't matter which one, it will do exactly the same thing in the rest of the circuit. So we will place one button on each side. It doesn't necessarily matter where you place these as long as they connect to this redstone line. So if you've got a wall that doesn't really match the shape of this, then you can connect it in your own way, so long as they all run in to this redstone line here. And we'll place a fourth block here, so we've got a little T shape going on, and we'll place a redstone repeater there. So once you've made this T shape of redstone with the repeater, we'll place a dropper there facing upwards, a dropper here facing across, and a dropper here facing down. That one probably doesn't necessarily matter too much which way it's facing, and then a hopper pointing into the side of that dropper. So you can see we've got a kind of circuit thing going on, and then you can just place any old item in one of these, and let's just throw in, it has to be a single item, so it can be something as simple as a stick there, and we'll press the button, and you can see it will make a clicking sound. That means you have done it right. Next up, we need to place a solid block on the diagonal here, and a second one, and we will place in a redstone comparator just here facing out of that dropper there at the bottom, and we'll place a redstone dust. So now you'll see when you hit one of these buttons, the comparator will alternate its status. So now it's off, we hit the button, and it will turn on. Same thing if we hit the button on this side, you'll see it turns off, and we hit it again, and the redstone comparator will turn on. Now we get to the complicated part, and that is the rest of this system, the part that took me the longest to work on, but we'll make it rather quick. Now that the design work is finished, it is not too complicated. So next to this block here, we'll place basically a staircase of solid blocks. They need to be solid blocks going down and connecting down here, and we'll just place a line of redstone on top of all of those, and we'll also grab a repeater and change this one right after the comparator to a repeater, and that will fire those bottom pistons and push our gate upwards. But we need a way of shutting off this system, because right now that is just going to stay there forever, and as you can see, we cannot get through our gate, so we need to make these bottom pistons lower again. So that's why just next to that we have this little system here. You can see we've got some repeaters leading to a piston, so we'll place in those next. So to do that, we will place in a solid block here, 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 and then another two here and here. We will place redstone repeaters on these blocks here, and then two redstone dust on those two there. And we will set the delay on these repeaters to 4 ticks for that one and 3 ticks for this one. Then we will place in a sticky piston. So let me just grab one from down here, and we'll place a sticky piston probably against that block, and we'll remove that one and place it here. So that will, after a few ticks, close off this, and we'll be able to walk through and get through into or out of our castle. And so the next step of our design is to make this also connect to those top pistons as well, so we can do the closing. So we'll place a glass block there directly on top of that redstone, and it will appear up in the air. We'll place a redstone on top of that glass. Things get a little bit tricky to see when you start working with glass, and a solid block just there. On top of that, we will place a redstone torch, and we'll just continue to place solid blocks and redstone torches all the way up until we reach the top level with these observers. We'll place solid blocks to join these, and we'll join them up with 2 pieces of redstone dust. And one quick thing of note, if this redstone torch is lit as you are placing in these redstone dusts at the top here, you'll notice that similar to what we had at the bottom, these top pistons here will stay extended as it pushes these down, and that is the next solution we need to fix. So if that is lit, just break this one for a moment and hit the button again to unlight that redstone torch at the top. Then you can connect it up again, and everything should be fine. The gate will be open once again. But now we need to build up the circuit to prevent any issues happening. So we'll place 3 solid blocks out from that redstone torch like this, and then redstone dust followed by 2 redstone repeaters, similar to what we had at the bottom, but this time we're going to build upwards instead of across. So on the end of that redstone repeater we'll place a solid block up like that, and so the repeater powers that block once it is turned on. A redstone dust on top of that solid block, and a solid block on this side of that redstone dust just here. It can be a little bit tricky to place in, but that is where you want it. And then a piston, sticky piston facing in this direction with a solid block on its face, so that when all this redstone is activated, that will extend and cut off this redstone, which will retract all the pistons in the way that we want, and we'll be able to move those out the way so we can open the gates once again. So that is the system 100% complete. I'll just do a demonstration to prove that this works. We'll hit the button and this gate will close up, and obviously once you are finished, I'll just place in some stone here. We don't need these corners. They don't really function in any purpose in the redstone. You don't need those spaces to be empty, so yeah, for the sake of this we'll just cover in all of this and make it just a box for now. So yeah, we can press this button and the gate opens up. We can walk through. The ground's all solid, and once we get to the other side, you can even, if you want, place the button on this side of the wall as well. That works too, and that will work no problem. The gate closes down. The closing is very nice. I actually like the closing a lot better because you don't have the blocks sort of pushing it up out the way. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. You need to open. You need that. You need the blocks to push them up. But yeah, the closing is very cool to watch, I think. So yeah. But yeah, that is more or less the entire system. Of course, when you put this in a castle, you will have you know, some kind of wall covering this mess of redstone up the top and down the side. But that's why I've tried to the best of my abilities, keep the redstone yeah, fully to the side and you know, above and below the doorway, and I have kept a decent amount of space around here as clear as possible, so you have room to do all of your building and decorating that you may want to do. Of course, you can swap out any of the solid blocks for whatever you want, and you can swap out this concrete powder for any other color of concrete powder, sand, gravel, or potentially even anvils. I'm not sure if that one would work or not, but yeah, other than that though, that is the system complete. So let me know how that goes for you. I'll say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.